Today I want to show you guys how I created the collection Reframing Silhouettes. Around the time I started creating this collection, I was doing a lot of gesture drawing to kind of practice my speed for storyboarding. And one of the important things that I always have to keep in mind when I'm storyboarding is kind of like silhouette shapes and the story that they're telling and where they're directing the eye of the audience. And I was really enjoying doing that. And it kind of hit me that I would like to make a series of like wall art type illustrations that would kind of carry through this idea of, silhouetted shapes of people and just kind of like the stories that you can tell with just those little outlines. And that's kind of how the idea was born for this collection. When I started thinking about the theme and the poses that I wanted to have for this collection, I ended up leaning more towards the female silhouette that I wanted to use because I really like the contrast of the proportions and just like the curved shapes way better. And I feel like it kind of fit the direction that I was going to head. I really like the idea of having the poses kind of contrast against some type of background. So I ended up going with like windows or doorways or balconies behind each pose that just kind of like sets them forward. Now that the idea was there, it was time to start making some rough thumbnails to kind of help consolidate my ideas into more clear pictures of what I wanted to tell story-wise with each illustration. After creating a handful of thumbnails, I went through and picked out my favorites, and I went to the next step, which was finding some reference images for each illustration. I ended up doing my own reference images just by posing myself and taking pictures because I wasn't able to find poses that really captured exactly what I had drawn into my thumbnails, so it seemed easier to just make it happen myself. And I feel like this kind of gave the collection an even more personal touch because each pose is actually me. Now that I had the thumbnails ready to go and the reference images as well, I started doing the cleanup sketches that I would end up using in Illustrator as a guideline as I created these. My vision for this collection was to have really clean and smooth line work. So I had decided to do them in Illustrator so that I could have them as vector art and scale them however I please. While this was a great idea, I am not very proficient at Illustrator. So this was a huge learning curve that definitely taught me a lot, but it was a rough patch of, trying to do some very basic things that I wanted, and everything's in a different place that I'm used to, so it was a lot of spending time on YouTube looking for help on how to fix things. But in the long run, I'm really happy that I ended up using Illustrator for this, just because making just little edits and changes were a lot easier and I didn't have to worry about the quality of the illustrations getting compressed. So next was a really important step, and that was creating the collection's color palette. My original palette was like a navy blue, kind of like a deeper like electric blue with kind of like a bubblegum pink. And I did like it, but after creating the rest of the illustrations, I feel like it didn't fit. So I spent some time coming up with some different color palettes and themes that I wanted to try, and I had narrowed it down to 3 that I really liked. And I was kind of asking a friend what they thought of them, and she liked all 3 of them as well. And what I ended up doing was keeping all 3. So the collection has 3 different variations. And I kind of like that because, one color palette may not suit everybody's taste, but they may like the illustration story. And so by giving 3 different options, I feel like, it kind of helped create different variations that might speak to people in different ways. So these were the final 3 color palettes. The first one being Fruit Punch, which has like a vibrant fuchsia with the saturated yellows and turquoise, and with lime green as the backdrop for the white silhouetted pose. And the second one is Citrus Refresh, which is another one with like a summer vibe type palette, but I use like a cooling saturated like navy blue with the turquoise, lime, and fuchsia from the previous palette to kind of like connect the two. And then for the third one, I kind of wanted like a contrasting palette, but like not too contrasty, but something that would tell a little bit different of a story. So I created Desert Haze. And Desert Haze has like a warm, like red brick brown color for the frame, and then like the soft, like muted oranges and like the yellows with the burnt, like reddish orange. And I feel like this palette has like the warm summer vibes. It's not hitting you in that kind of like summer splash type of way. It's more of like a muted palette, maybe like a more mature one. So I'm glad that I added this one to the collection. And so this is the finished collection, Reframing Silhouettes. So the original name for this collection was going to be Break the Box because the gestures and poses reach beyond the borders of the frames that they're in. And I just kind of wanted it to symbolize like us breaking out of the kind of like social norms and expectations that are often put on women. But I ended up going with Reframing Silhouettes because I liked the idea that each illustration was kind of like a way of reframing how we look at these things. And I feel like my illustration Tea Time is a really good example of that because I feel like we live in a time where like hustle culture is so strong that taking time to like relax and maybe do nothing is often looked at as like a weakness or you being lazy. But I wanted to reframe that into a moment that was beautiful and to realize that like this is a strength and it's important when we take time to do nothing and to relax and to let ourselves heal. Dance was another really important illustration in this collection to me because a lot of like the confidence I have found and just kind of like the strength to love myself and see myself as beautiful has really come from dance and just letting myself, make mistakes and learn something new and being able to appreciate my body and the things that I can do with it. Making friends was inspired by all the cat lovers in my life, and I also wanted it to be a reminder that friends can be made anywhere and that it's important to treasure just those little moments that we have with people that you're close to. Harvest was another special one to me because I often overlook that last step of when you finish a project or accomplish something, and that is to enjoy the fruits of your labor. And so this one is just almost like a personal reminder for me, but I hope it's helpful for other people to remember that like when you do something big, when you finish something, when you accomplish something, take that time to recognize and just kind of harvest the fruits of your labor and see what you have done and to enjoy it. And so next in the collection is Soar. And this one represents kind of like you can be and are the wings that you're going to need to reach whatever heights you're trying to reach those goals. You are the person who's going to make that happen and that you can do it. And that's all you're going to need. Another favorite from this collection has to be play because as I've gotten older, one thing I've noticed is that the time I take in the evenings or on weekends just to play a game or do something without a reason has been really healing for me. And I feel like this is an aspect that we definitely overlook as adults, and especially in these times where we feel like we're supposed to always be doing something productive. We're supposed to always be doing something that's going to show results. And I just wanted this illustration to be a reminder to just do something just because. No expectations. You're only doing it because you're curious and you just want to enjoy yourself and have a good time. Set free is kind of like a visualization of what I think it would look like to feel the emotions of what it's like to just let go. And I hope this kind of resonates with other people as it resonates with me because I often feel like if I could just control things, if I could just hold on tighter, I could, be worry free and everything would be all right. But the reality is you just need to let go of all the things that you can't control and just kind of set yourself free from all of these things. And that's what this illustration means to me. And last but certainly not least is create. This one really hits close to home, and for me, it's a really personal reminder to remember what first drew me to creating artwork. And that was just kind of me chasing curiosity and what if type questions and wanting to just build these worlds that were in my mind. And to do it without the expectation of a finished or perfect painting. And so when you kind of like unshackle yourself and you create in a carefree way and you can bring ideas to life, I just feel like that is the most magical moment. So this illustration is a very personal one for me, and I hope that it might resonate with some other people as well. And that's how I created this collection, Reframing Silhouettes. If you guys like these illustrations, you can find them in my Etsy shop as digital download art prints, and I'm going to leave the link below down in the description, and I'll be seeing you guys next time.